Ladies and gentlemen, the sun is bright, the birds are chirping, and we've got headlines to cover. So, as you already know, Throwing Patone starts right now. Welcome back. We've had an abundance of headlines this week. Go ahead and grab a seat. We've got a lot to cover. Kicking things off, the Florida Panthers have won the Stanley Cup for the first time in franchise history. No more will they be called the Atlanta Panthers. No, sir. They did, in fact, pull through. And in an incredible performance, Connor McDavid took home the Conn Smythe. He becomes the first finals loser to do so since 2003. And just so you're aware, former Tampa Bay Lightning player Carter Verhaeghe did score one of Florida's 2 goals in Game 7. Friendly reminder that Tampa's still on top. Sticking to the NHL draft just took place at the Sphere in Vegas. Macklin Celebrini was the first pick of the draft. He was taken to the San Jose Sharks. We're going to skip over the remainder of the draft order for time's sake, but you can find the full draft order on whatever website you use for your NHL news. Sticking to the draft theme, the NBA draft also just took place. Zachary Rizacher went first overall to the Atlanta Hawks. And as with the NHL draft, you can find the full draft order wherever you find your NBA news. However, we will talk about Bronny going to the Lakers, because, LeBron's essentially just the GM over there. Insanity. Absolute insanity. It remains to be seen whether Bronny's going to get any playing time over there, but having a father-son duo in the NBA is something I don't think anybody had on their bingo card. Moving on, the Tennessee Volunteers have won their first college baseball World Series since their baseball program establishment over 120 years ago. Tennessee, down 1-0, held their ground, pushing a Game 3 where they went into the top of the ninth, leading 6-3. A&M scores 2 runs in the top of the ninth, 6-5 scored, 2 outs, and Combs of Tennessee strikes out Burton of A&M to take the whole thing. I know it's cliche and it's a quote from a movie, but how can you not be romantic about baseball? Finally, this is unfortunate, as you know. We gotta dive into some negative publicity for the NFL. Firstly, the league was found guilty of violating antitrust laws in a lawsuit claiming that they overcharged for their NFL Sunday ticket subscription service. The U.S. District Court ordered the NFL to pay $96 million in damages to commercial class members, the restaurants, bars, things of that nature, and $4.7 billion with a B to residential consumers. So in short, the NFL's whack, man. Something's going on, something's in the water over there, and they're leaning in the wrong direction. But if you paid for Sunday ticket, you may be getting a check in the mail sometime real soon. Next up, for bad publicity for the league, the NFL canceled their supplemental draft for the 4th time in the last 5 years. For those who don't know what it is a second draft where players who weren't ready for the first draft can still be drafted. And just so you have the bigger picture, the way it works is there's 7 rounds. There's not enough players to fill 7 rounds, but there's 7 rounds. If a team takes an athlete in any of those 7 rounds, they're then stripped of that respective pick in next year's draft. So say the Bucks, for example, took a player in the 5th round of the 2024 supplemental draft, they would then lose their 5th round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. I hope that makes sense. Although the cancellation might not sound like that big a deal, really talented athletes have been taken in the supplemental draft. Josh Gordon, Chris Carter, and most recently, Jalen Thompson, safety for the Cardinals, were all supplemental draft picks. This thing's been canceled in 4 of the last 5 years. If this trend continues, Thompson might have been the last player taken in the supplemental draft. I'm really hoping that's not the case, but I'm actually curious. What do y'all think? What are your thoughts on this? I didn't even bother making a graphic for it, as you can tell. I didn't feel it deserved one. Former first overall pick Jamarcus Russell is being sued by Williamson High School for taking a $74,000 check written out as a donation for weight room equipment to the high school and cashing it. This guy's a scumbag. Reportedly, Chris Knowles, who's a lifelong LSU fan, was approached by Jamarcus Russell about making a $74,000 donation to his football program at Williamson High School for new weight room equipment. Knowles was in favor. He wrote the check out. Jamarcus Russell then deposited it, and when Knowles asked for a receipt of donation, Russell stopped talking to him entirely. And it goes without saying, Jamarcus Russell was fired from the position in the coaching staff. But that is all the news we have for today. In just a short moment, we'll bring in Matthew Bracker, a friend of mine and a Denver Broncos fan. He'll join me to look into some of the more dicey NFL QB situations right now and throughout OTAs. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. I don't do any fancy intros for this show. There's no fancy intros, because who needs them? Instead, we just say, this is Matthew Bracker. Besides being a diehard Broncos fan, he decided to rep me and the brand today. We're hearing a lot of news coming out of Denver OTAs that it's a two-man race right now.
Yeah.
Not Bo Nix, Zach Wilson, and Jared Stidham. It is just Jared Stidham and Bo Nix. They're saying Zach Wilson's not in the running for this QB1 job. What are your thoughts on it as a seasoned little Broncos fan here, and who do you see in driver's seat?
Miserable little Broncos fan. So I think, I'll just say who I, want to win is obviously Bo Nix. Highest completion percentage, in college football is like big. I think I called him inaccurate. So that's I apologize, Bo Nix. This season, like the Broncos aren't making the playoffs. I know that. This season is to see if Bo Nix was worth, the pick. So not starting him would be awful because we're not a playoff team. So why are we trying to start Jared Stidham? I feel like you can, though, make an argument for each one of these quarterbacks. It's sad that you can make an argument for each one of these quarterbacks. But Jared Stidham, he played a little bit last season. He played similar to Russ. He had similar stat lines. Wilson has, I guess NFL experience, not good experience. Did you see his haircut?
Oh, the little fancy little frat that he's got going?
Yeah,
he did.
He looks like a Disney Channel like gangster.
On that note that you mentioned a second ago with Bo Nix, you were mentioning, if you don't start him day one, like it's going to be a problem. Is that when we can realistically expect to see him start? Or are you thinking maybe more down the line he finally gets his reps?
If I was Sean Payton, I'm that man. I'm him.
You're him.
I would start him day one. And I know like rookies, it's not, if you're not like 1, 2, or 3, like you're not really starting day one, and this guy's 12th. But Bo Nix really did fall into the best like situation for him.
He feels
think,
like he was like made by Sean Payton in a lab, dude.
Oh, I know.
Feels like a Sean Payton quarterback.
Yeah, he definitely is. And every single thing you hear Sean Payton like talk about to media with him is like glazing him so hard. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this whole like little competition thing that they're calling it is just to like kind of like motivate him to see like push him a little more. But like if he's not the day one starter, I would be shocked.
So Bronny has officially been drafted by the Lakers, right? Which officially means that LeBron is with one of his teammates' moms. People everywhere are saying, hey, LeBron might be the new Zach Wilson of basketball, but I put my foot down, I stood my ground. I said, hey, there's only one Zach Wilson in this world. So my question to you is, Matthew Bracker, now that Zach Wilson is in that locker room, do you think guys are going to sleep afraid that Zach Wilson's wheeling their moms?
Oh yeah, they're shaking. They're shaking in their boots for sure. I mean, Zach Wilson, he might not be like a quarterback, right? But he has the aura.
He's got that Disney Channel quarterback.
Yes, he has the Disney Channel like, face, he's friends and family weekend. Like all I'm saying is like Javonte Williams, he's holding his mom like a little like closer, he's not letting him touch her.
Buddy's reputation is outstretched. Everybody knows what's going on when Zach Wilson walks in the building.
And I think honestly, because you talk about like quarterbacks, right? And like leadership being like a big like big trait for a good quarterback to have. I think with Zach Wilson, it's fear. It's fear that he can take your mom. And he will take your mom unless you make plays.
Unless you make
Buddy, only 20 yards this week, huh? Might have to give your mom a ring. What do you think about that? Like that's what I'm saying. Like, and then next week he 200 piece.
So you kind of think Zach Wilson is, Fidel Castro fear mongering,
Yeah.
All the quarterbacks in the Denver Broncos locker room.
Yeah, I do. I think that's the only edge he brings in this competition.
Zach Wilson's a menace, dude. That locker room is going to be dangerous. There's one other person we got to talk about from the Denver Broncos facility. And that's Tim Patrick. Tim Patrick is one of those mediocre wide receivers that I grew up loving, like 2017, I think he was brought in to Denver. And for like 3 years, he was awesome. Things kind of fell off a little bit. He had some injuries, but he's coming back this year. Everyone in OTA is just saying, this is the guy right now. Is there a chance we're going to get some playing time from him?
It's tough because he played like 2 years ago. I just don't think he's going to bounce back. He could be average, and I definitely do think on this average Broncos team he might get some playing time. I feel like it's going to be, Cortland at the 1, obviously.
Yeah.
And then
You got Josh Reynolds now. He's currently sitting in your two.
no, that's the thing because we have Josh Reynolds too. Troy Franklin, who I
Oh, I love Troy Franklin.
Troy Franklin is a monster. If
Oh,
if
yeah.
if they do what they did with Marvin Mims to Troy Franklin this year, I'm gonna like go ballistic. Because Marvin Mims could have been such a good tool.
Yeah.
They just never got on the ball. I want Franklin at the like number three, and then like Marvin Mims to be like a speedy number four. I don't think Tim Patrick, now that I'm thinking about it, really is gonna see the field all that much.
I'm
It's
I'm
like
I'm kind of hoping we get like a Parker Washington situation in Jackson
yeah,
where like, maybe someone's not injured, but maybe a receiver's tired or something. You throw
right.
Parker into the, five on an empty set and let him go out and make something happen.
Yeah.
That's what they
Yeah.
did a lot. And he had like, I think 400 yards last season or something halfway decent for like a
Mhm.
fourth or fifth string wide receiver. I'm
Yeah,
hoping
no.
we see something similar for Tim Patrick because I really like that guy. Staying in division, Raiders have a QB battle going on that I think's a bit tighter than most people realize. Aiden O'Connell supposedly is winning the job over there. A little
Yeah.
bit dicey. It feels like, we're almost poised to get the Raiders taking a QB in the top 5 next year. It kind of feels that way right now. Are you thinking maybe Aiden O'Connell wins this thing? Are you thinking Gardner Minshew maybe wins this thing? A real dicey situation over there. What do you like?
I didn't think Aiden O'Connell played like good at all last
No,
year.
I've said time and time again, I think Aiden O'Connell is a lot like a Mike White, like a guy you can keep up
Yeah.
and he's going to be good, but he's not great.
No, of course. I don't think Aiden O'Connell should have ever started an NFL game, but it just the Raiders, you
He's
know,
not good.
it was the position that he got put in. I think it should be Gardner. Minshew mania,
Oh yeah.
I think there's still a little bit in the tank. I
Hey,
remember those Jaguars days.
hey,
I don't,
to all the haters out there, you heard the man himself. Vincent Van Gogh. People used to tell that guy, "Hey, you can't paint. You only have one ear." And you know what he said?
what is it?
Can't hear you. Hey, those words are coming
Yeah.
from Gardner Minshew himself, bro. He said that. I'm
No, I
quoting
know.
here.
I
I'm
know.
not.
That's aura. That's aura. Gardner Minshew and like Zach Wilson are same like level of aura. I feel like I would give it to Minshew.
I don't hate it. I actually kind of like it. I think he was good with the Colts last year. But
Yeah.
speaking on the Jaguars, we got to throw this in here. We got to talk about it, right? This
Mhm.
this is something. It's not really a dicey QB situation, but I mean, Jaguars ponied up and paid Trevor Lawrence $55 million a year, which is like, I mean, has nobody had to talk about the birds and the bees with the GMs over at Jacksonville? Like, why you
Yeah.
like? Do you not know what's going on in this league? Why are you giving him 55 million? That's too much money. Like, but here's the deal. This year they went out and they got somebody named Mac Jones, right? And
Mhm.
Mac is a little cheesy. And anytime you mix mac and cheese, you get a treat. You know the drill. Is there a chance that, Mac Jones absolutely steps it up and just starts swinging around, and takes that QB1 spot after they paid him 55 million, or Trevor, I should say?
I feel like it would have to be like Trevor Lawrence would have to face the like biggest regression, the biggest just drop off
Yeah.
in his like Mac Jones, I think at this point in his career he is a solid backup. And my view on it is Mac has nothing to lose and Trevor has everything to lose. So for Mac, why not just like, fight for that spot? You don't get a quarterback thinking you're not going to use him at least one point, you
Yeah.
know?
You want to know something interesting though that I'm just thinking about now? I didn't even realize it. But the
Yeah.
Jaguars have something going right now with their backup Qs getting starting jobs either elsewhere or in the building. Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking about it. CJ Beathard, he
Hmm.
started a little bit with Jax. He started a little bit with Houston.
Yeah.
And then behind CJ Beathard, we have Blaine Gabbert, who came in
Blaine
and got a
Gabbert.
few starting roles with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, not a ton, but a few. Right. And then you got Gardner Minshew, who he
Yeah.
starts with Indianapolis, now he's with the Raiders. Now we got Mac Jones. Mac Jones is going to be a starter again. History repeats
Yeah.
itself.
They're just they're a factory for like not really great kind of average quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The absolute, like, how would you call it? Like, boogaloo treadmill of shipping quarterbacks all the way
Electric
through.
boogaloo.
I don't even know what that means. What
Yeah.
is boogaloo?
Boogaloo. I don't know. To
Of
me,
Latin
often.
dance music.
What?
It's a form of Latin dance music. That's what
Really?
boogaloo means. Yeah.
Are you looking that up right now?
Yeah, I just looked it up. I worked at Chili's, for a hot little
Oh,
minute,
did you?
It
Yeah.
was actually a lot of fun. I got a lot of
Yeah.
stories about Chili's. Actually, let me tell one now because it'll make for a good clip if it's funny. All right, so this is how it goes. I'm in the Chili's. I'm still working to go, but I'm in the kitchen and I'm making
Yeah.
little plates and stuff. And all of a sudden the door opens. This guy comes walking in, real crackhead type. You could tell. And he walks in, and he starts running around the restaurant. He comes running back the other way. And we go, what the hell? We go, what are you doing, man? And the guy looks over and he goes, the guy says he's trying to get me. And he's running across. And we go, what guy is trying to get you? He goes, he's in the car. He's circling the building. So manager walks outside with two of the biggest line cooks we had. And they start pacing around the place. Nothing's going on. And they keep the guy up front and they say, hey, we're going to call the police for you so they can, find this guy that's chasing you. And, we'll get it handled. And the guy goes, oh, okay. Starts itching himself and going, you can tell. So I go about my business. There's a door. There are 3 doors. There's one on the left and right side of the kitchen to exit out that way. And there's one in the middle right next to the bar where you're facing the front door. And while I'm pacing back and forth, I think it was a Monday night, because I know there was Monday Night Football on or Sunday Night Football. I know I was watching football.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the game, and then I look over, and this crackhead guy is charging at me like full speed, like Flash is running through our dining room. And so he pushes me out of the way and takes off through our kitchen. And we all turned and booked it and followed this guy. And I swear to God, like a spider monkey. This guy jumps up on the wall on the pantry, because there are shelves, and just climbs up the wall of the pantry. And he gets to the top and hides himself like in a cubby. And we go, what the hell are you doing, man? What are you doing? And he goes, the guy, he broke in. Cops came, fire trucks came, ambulance came. They got him out, brought him to the hospital. We just, I never even heard of that. I don't even know what happened to that guy.
People were like on stuff like that, like it gives them, like, some people gives them superpowers. Like,
I know.
I used to work at the pizza place. All I'm saying is I'm taking the chef who like has some, like, comes back from outside. He makes the best pasta like I've ever had in my life. Like, he's just whipping that up.
Pittsburgh Steelers. We got to talk about it.
No.
We have to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not a big fan of it either, pal, but I think Russell Wilson is being disrespectful because, as per usual, because, Russ comes in, do you want a bite of my sandwich? It is my signature sandwich, and the Steelers are like,
be careful though.
It's spicy. The Steelers are like, get behind center, get over there, you. And, then they ask Russ, hey, Justin Fields is in the building, like, what are you thinking about him? Buddy hits him with, you could definitely play some special teams. Come again? Like, he was a first-round draft pick. Special teams.
Yeah.
I think there's a 50-50 shot Justin Fields gets a start somewhere in mid-season. I just wanted to ask your thoughts.
No, I agree. Because Russ is gonna blow it. He's going to blow it.
Yeah.
I hope he does. Because I have no love for him. I don't think he's gonna be their answer. Tomlin, maybe he can whip him into shape a little bit. I mean, you've seen the photos. He's kind of bulking up, buddy. Why weren't you doing that in Denver?
I got to get festive here. So the Minnesota Vikings, right? They pick up J.J. McCarthy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got Sam Darnold. He's a bridge, 1-year deal, rookie quarterback as a backup. There's no doubt about it. He is a bridge, Sure. But J.J. is an interesting character here because they pick him up and no one's 100% certain. They're saying there's a little bit of inconsistency in OTAs. And Sam Darnold's a decently proven guy. He had some time with San Francisco. He got some starts. He played well. With Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, Hawk. Like, he's got some good guys in the building. I think he's serviceable. Sure. Do you think there's a chance JJ will start it all this year? Or are they going to wait till next year, let him cook at a backup position for 18 weeks, and then let him start like week 1 next year?
That video that came out of JJ, like, completely, he had a throw in practice camp that just like,
oh, the really dookie one, the one that just like straight to the ground. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. It was like a slant route, and he like underthrew a slant.
It's like he just
he chopped it.
Yeah, it's like he spiked it. Yeah, it wasn't good. I don't know how he's really doing right now. I'll be honest, but JJ isn't like NFL ready yet. I don't think. I think I like JJ. Well, I didn't like JJ, but I thought he was an okay prospect.
At Michigan, I thought he was halfway decent in Michigan.
Yeah. One thing I realized was he really does have a deep ball. Like, he has a really good deep ball. Yeah. But I think with Michigan, honestly, he was kind of held back a little bit because, I mean, they were just running through their running backs. I think this is going to be like a preseason battle. Like I think we won't know until like a week before.
I think people tend to forget, though, that Sam Darnold was a very high draft pick.
Yeah,
Like,
for
he
sure.
was a very, very good Q coming out of college. So, I mean, maybe not the exact same, accolades as JJ, but similar paths that
Yeah.
they took. And so, I mean, maybe JJ can take a thing or two from Sam Darnold, right, and apply it to his own game. People seem to think that Geno Smith's job as a starter is a lock, that he's got it. But at the same time, people also like to say I fumbled my last 10, but you can't fumble unless you have possession. Stay with me now. Sam Howell is the backup in Seattle. He had better stats in passing yards and passing touchdowns than Geno. Is there a chance that he can take the starting job over Geno this year?
Seahawks aren't really like a good team. I would start Sam Howell and just see what happens because I just kind of think it's up. It was a fun run for sure. Made me feel like awful because of the Russell Wilson trade, but
yeah. I've thought for a while Geno Smith is poised for a downfall, but we'll see how it plays. Welcome back. We are diving head first into some OTA news because, as you know, there's air to breathe, there's headlines to cover, so let's get into it. We already touched on this briefly with Matthew Bracker, but reportedly, Aiden O'Connell is winning the QB battle over Gardner Minshew in Vegas, per Jeremy Fowler of ESPN. See, I like O'Connell, but I don't think he's franchise material in my opinion. I know I said this before, but I really associate him with that proven backup kind of guy, like a Mike White. And see, that's the thing that kills me, because I'm a big Antonio Pierce guy, I'm a big Devontae Adams guy, I'm a huge Brock Bowers guy. But the way things are looking, I think Vegas is going to draft a QB in 2025. That's not to say that this spells out disaster for the 2024 season, but I don't think the outlook is too good. Next year, though, we got Carson Beck, Quinn Ewers, Shadur Sanders. We got, a plethora of talent that could be considered day one QBs. I said could, just so you know. In my opinion, I kind of feel like Carson Beck already sounds like a Raider quarterback name. But what are your thoughts on this? Who would you like to see commanding the Raiders offense next year? Next up, this one really grinds my gears. NFL.com released their projected all-rookie team, and I think a lot of players got snubbed. So let's go over theirs first. I'll throw it on screen right now. We've got Caleb Williams at QB, Trey Benson at running back 1, Ray Davis at running back 2, Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver 1, Xavier Worthy at wide receiver 2, Brock Bowers at tight end, Joe Alt at O-Tackle 1, J.C. Latham at O-Tackle 2, Jackson Powers-Johnson at O-Guard 1, Tanner Bortolini at O-Guard 2, and, of course, Graham Barton at center. Like I said, I think a lot of guys were snubbed here. I think a lot of guys were snubbed, especially in the receiver and the offensive line category. So, like I did with the Madden covers, I made my own list of rookies who I think will have an immediate impact and will show production throughout the upcoming season. I'll throw my list on screen for you right now. We've got Jaden Daniels at quarterback, Jonathan Brooks at RB1, Braylon Allen at RB2, Marvin Harrison Jr. at wide receiver 1, Malik Neighbors at wide receiver 2, Brock Bowers at tight end, Joe Alt at O-Tackle 1, Talise Fuanga at O-Tackle 2, Jackson Powers-Johnson at O-Guard 1, Isaiah Adams at O-Guard 2, and Graham Barton at center. And just to quickly go over the changes I made, Daniels is a gut check. Usually I get a gut feeling about certain athletes coming into the draft, and not to toot my own horn, but whenever I get that feeling, I'm usually right on the money. I get that feeling with Daniels. Brooks is going to beat out Chuba Hubbard in Carolina this year. Sometime around week 5 or week 6, I think he starts taking majority of the snaps. This one's a little more dicey, but I have faith in him. Everybody knows that no matter how good a running back is, the wheels do fall off. You can't feed them the ball like crazy. We saw what happened last year. Yes, I know Aaron Rodgers was hurt, but I don't think Breece Hall is going to be able to carry forever, and everyone's got such high expectations for him. We're hearing nothing but positive things about Braylon Allen in the New York Jets OTA camp, and right now he's running back 2. I think he's going to get a good amount of snaps, and I don't want to put my head in front of the guillotine, but I think we may be looking at a split backfield sometime around mid-season. He's a big physical power back kind of guy, maybe a third down back kind of guy. I really like him, and I love this fit in New York, so I have him as my running back 2. Obviously, MHJ at wide receiver 1, we got the same thing. I won't cover that. But look, I mean, this is ridiculous. Xavier Worthy is not wide receiver 2 for the all-rookie team. This is insane. NFL.com has to stop fondling Pat Mahomes and Andy Reid, Travis Kelce, and Taylor Swift. I'm so tired of it. And look, here's the deal. I'm not going to hate on Xavier Worthy. I like the guy. but he's been showing nothing but inconsistency in OTAs. Sure, he has speed. John Ross had speed. Look what happened to him. I like Xavier Worthy. I hope he has a great career, but he's not wide receiver 2 in all rookie right now. That's going to go to Malik Neighbors. Malik Neighbors is the cut and dry wide receiver 1 in New York. There's nothing else to say about that. He's going to get the majority of targets this year. And this isn't even a hot take. He's breaking 1,000 yards this year. I don't care if you have Daniel Jones as your quarterback. I could be their quarterback. He's still breaking 1,000. Trust me on this one. Malik Neighbors is going to be awesome. Tight end, Brock Bowers. I mean, I like Ben Sinnott, but he's got to sit behind Zach Ertz. Brock Bowers is special, man. Brock Bowers is generational at tight end. I want to say he's an even better tight end prospect than Kyle Pitts was. I think he is, without a doubt, the tight end for the all-rookie team. For Joe Alt, we know LA is going to be a run-heavy team, especially with Jim Harbaugh there. There's no doubt about that. Joe Alt is O-Tackle 1. O-Tackle 2, though, is going to be Talise Fuanga. I know the Titans had a big gaping need at O-Tackle. They bring in J.C. Latham. Your immediate thought is J.C. Latham's going to be awesome, but so did Pittsburgh, and they had Troy Fautanu. So did the Bengals, but they got Amarius Mims. You're following my train of thought here. So many of these O-Tackles are going to get plug and play. Who's going to be the best? I would even argue that Tyler Guyton's up there with Oklahoma now that he's with Dallas. But here's the deal. Fuanga is one of the most physical and talented run blockers I've seen in a very long time in the NFL draft. With Kamara in the backfield and with the way that New Orleans offense is set up, those screen plays, inside the tackle runs, even outside the tackle runs, I think Fuanga is going to be special. Fuanga's not the best pass blocker. That's the only negative I have to say about him. He's not terrible, but he's not the best. If they can hone in those skills, this guy may even be a case for O-Tackle 1 this year. I really like Talise Fuanga. O-Guard 1 is JPJ. This guy was a projected first rounder. I had him going first round. Every other offensive guard that was taken in this draft was taken from the 3rd round down. Not a lot of them are going to be starters. In fact, there's only one starter right now that I know of, and that's Isaiah Adams of the Arizona Cardinals. He is going to have the best immediate impact. Barring any injury, Isaiah Adams is going to have the best production and the most immediate impact because he is a starter. And at center, Zach Frazier, we got to give him a shout out, is a very, very close second behind Graham Barton. This guy's very, very physical. He's a monster on the offensive line. He'll have no problem commanding the line of scrimmage. So was my pick for Graham Barton biased? Yeah. Moving forward, we have something interesting going on here. I was going to talk about this earlier today, but we had some more news come out, and so I let it push for a little bit. Brandon Ayuk has reportedly for a long time now wanted out of San Francisco. He just went on the Pivot podcast with Ryan Clark talking about what jersey he expects to wear coming into next year. His response was that he'd probably be wearing a Niners uniform. Then he went on to say that if he wasn't wearing a Niners uniform, he'd be in a Commanders uniform, and if he wasn't in a Commanders uniform, he'd be in a Steelers uniform. Let's narrow it down. If he stays in San Francisco, maybe he gets a bag, but they're paying people like crazy. Will they have the cap to offer him the money he wants? That's the question of the day. It seems like he's wanted out for a while, so if that's not the case, why Washington? Well, for starters, when Ayuk was a senior at Arizona State, Jaden Daniels was coming in as a freshman. These guys have a connection. I think Ayuk would love to play with Washington. And like I mentioned before, I think Daniels is special. I think he's going to be awesome this year. So I'm not saying they're a Super Bowl team by any means, but if they had any shot at the playoffs, Ayuk would only push that needle further. Finally, he mentioned the Steelers. So why Pittsburgh? For starters, mutual interest. The Steelers have made it very, very well known in and around the NFL that they want Brandon Ayuk really badly. They get rid of Deontay Johnson. They ship him to Carolina. Pittsburgh cuts Denzel Mims to make an extra roster spot in their wide receiver room. The minute Brandon Ayuk trade talk starts coming up, these guys want him, and Ayuk knows that. I think he wants to play with a team that lets him know they want him in the building, and the Steelers have done nothing but that. On top of that, his only competition there is George Pickens, Van Jefferson, and recently drafted Roman Wilson. Ayuk walking into it, aside from maybe George Pickens, is the most talented receiver in that room. He's immediately grabbing that wide receiver 1 spot. So we've got a tale of 3 cities here. San Francisco, Washington, Pittsburgh. Where is he going to end up? What do you think about it? Moving into a smaller story, but the NFL has adopted the United Football League's kickoff system in hopes of decreasing injuries and special teams plays. I'm a bit mixed on this, and apparently so is the rest of the NFL world, as everybody on Twitter, everybody online is either one way or the other. I really think we're going to have to wait until preseason and see this in effect before we make a decision on what we feel. I know it's like a month in the future, but when that time comes, I'll keep you posted. Finally, this isn't really a story, but more of a rumor mill, and I love this kind of stuff. This is the stuff I live for. Remember, these are rumors. The Falcons are suspected to be eyeing the Dallas Cowboys as a trade partner to offload Kirk Cousins' $180 million salary, if Penix is ready within the next year or two. As we know, right now, conversations with Dak Prescott regarding a contract extension are going nowhere. We've seen the market and how it's playing, with Trevor Lawrence getting $55 million a year. Who knows what Dak wants? But if the Cowboys are losing Dak and the Falcons are comfortable with Michael Penix, where's Kirk gonna go? And here's the deal, I'm willing to put money down that Kirk's $45 million a year will be cheaper than whatever Dak wants. Potential trade? I'll leave it up to you. What do you make of this? Could you see Kirk in Dallas? Could you even see Dak in Atlanta if Michael Penix doesn't play out? What are your thoughts? But that is all of the NFL OTA news we have this week, unfortunately. Thanks for keeping updated, and look for more news next week. Talk to you later.